Welcome back to another episode, my lords, ladies, and gentlemen. I hope you're keeping well. Um, what a week of messages it's been. What a week. A combination of wishing a community of people into silence, just to see if they can hold back their collective egos, and um, kind of a bit of sadness, to be honest. Um, But yes, so we're gonna have to talk about it. We're gonna have to. It will be short, and it won't be anything that will devolve into, just a emotive slinging of comments in some way, right? You see my new lights. I've got a new lighting setup. They're stapled to not properly stapled. They're clipped to the back of the table, so they go up and down with the table roll and those giant cinema lights that are fixed in place. Okay, so right, the guy comes out. No, look, let's give it some context. Let's kind of set it up. If you follow the podcast in any way, you know what I do. You know what the people who listen to this kind of thing are interested in, right? And I've never made a secret of the fact that just because I have the podcast here doesn't make me some kind of subject matter expert by default. I'm just passionate about it. That's it. I'm just passionate about the skills. That's it. It's never been a place for grandstanding. It's been a place for sharing ideas, and for sharing thoughts. So, especially when something as polarizing and as, I think it would be fair to say, triggering, as that salute was, um, I and certainly the people on our forums have done our best to stay in the realms of what we know, right? Because that's the trying time when something emotively pushes you in some way, right? You skip into belief very quickly under the justifiable moniker of whatever emotive motivation there is for putting you there. And so let's kind of deal with everything that I've been hounded about, um, ever since it started, which is not just Mr. Musk. It has been that whole Blake Lively, Ryan Reynolds, and Justin Baldoni thing. Well, Ben, are you going to look at the footage? Ben, are you going to? No, no, I'm not. Not only because it would connect to those videos that I'm not really a fan of anyway, but I'm too biased. Right, I'll put my cards on the table. I'm too biased with it. Um, Ever since the interviews of his wife came out around the time of The Shallows, I wasn't really a fan. I wasn't really a fan. She seemed a bit too um, egocentrist for me, and that's certainly a celebrity perspective, on the back of it. And it's no secret of the fact that I'm a massive Deadpool fan, but I've been a fan of Deadpool since the first comics appearance in New Mutants in '91. Um, so I'm not going near it. Right? He's very much the face of Deadpool. And nowadays, people think of Deadpool, they think of him. So I'm not the best voice of reason in that. Could I still stick to observed data? Of course, right. But the nature of my opinion would struggle under the weight of my bias for the topics. And I would be, when I first heard that the whole nice pool character was a shot at Baldoni. I was gutted, to be honest, to think of that possibly being the case, and how it would affect future appearances, selfishly future appearances of Deadpool in the MCU. So I aren't touching that, and that's why I'm far too biased. So there's that one. Now, I mean that's a simple answer. Now let's get to the absolute Christ. What a world we live in. It seemed to boil down to no. Let me back up. Right, the grounding for things like this, when you observe movements, seem to, on large, I'm being quite semantic with a bucket load of detail, but they seem to, at large, fall into two camps. The people who are fans of and just want the easy, credible confirmation bias connection to I've seen this, therefore this. And others that want to, explore context and further elements, and that's the side that's the side to it. When if you look at the work of Vincent Deneau, I'm sorry if you ever end up watching this, Mr. Deneau. That's butchering the pronunciation of your second name. But one of the, I believe he was a professor or a researcher um, from McGill University. Uh, but his work on the kind of understanding of nonverbal communication, certainly in the legal setting, and the way it's been misinterpreted and used through entertainment to reinforce these kinds of biases, has been huge. It's been huge. So I always try and do my best to put forth the critical thinking angle, the reasoning angle of what was seen, as in what you can know from watching something, right? To be careful of the way that those journeys skip over into belief very quickly. You hear a lot of the conversation around, oh, it's because, oh, it's this, it's this. The harsh and sad, undeniable truth is the only person that knows for sure why he did what he did is him. That's the sad truth, because given the current climate, the current world we live in, he's never going to tell you if it was an actual salute like that. You're never going to get confirmation one way or the other, and that's an important notion. You know, for me personally, it comes back to the Stoic notion of control. But in terms of the critical thinking angle, we're looking really at what we know. It's the difference between knowing and belief. Right? Knowing is irrefutable. Belief, however right or wrong you are in a belief is being comfortable with the elements that you don't know. Right? If you believe in a God, regardless of what it is, you are comfortable with certain things that you don't know. Totally fine. If you believe that your that your kids are exactly where they tell you they were, there are things in that situation you don't know. You are believing based on the relationship and all of this type of thing, right? I'm over explaining the notion of knowing and belief, but that's kind of what it falls down to. So in order to pull it apart as much as we can from our angle as members of the ignorant public, we have to look at the information that we have that can be known. That can be known. And there's lots to work with. There's lots to work with. It seemed to fall down to stimming. It seemed to fall down to the Bellamy salute, the Roman salute, and just overexcitedly throwing his heart out. Those were the camps that. That's. I shouldn't say that. Those were the schools of thought that people fell into, the schools of opinion that people fell into. So let's take it down one at a time, right? In terms of what we know of stimming, I believe it's shorthand for self-stimulatory behavior or self-stimulatory action or something like that. But it is a repeated gesture or hand movement or physicality that is designed to regulate emotional function in those that struggle, whomever that is. It's typically associated with autism, um, but not strictly. No, strictly speaking, it can be anyone can stim. But those are predominantly the factors of where it comes from, right? So a repetitive movement that is designed to regulate emotion. So then we have to look at how quickly or slowly he regulates emotion. And certainly at every appearance at rallies and speaking events on the circuit or whatever you call them that we get over here as the English in the scenario, it takes much more than a single gesture to regulate. Right, he does a lot of this and he keeps going for the crowds, and those things are more like stimming. We'll never know because we can't see what he does behind closed doors when he gets really excited. There's no balance. There's no baseline. There's no baseline. So we take what we can from the information that can be seen, and the information that can be seen is that one was very excitedly thrown out there, and the one that he turned around and did after was uh, uh, um, much more turned down in terms of gestural volume. So that's either a very, very quick regulation, or that wasn't stimming, right? It, both can be on the table because we don't know. It was either a very quick regulation, or he wasn't stimming. They're both out there because there's information that exists around them that we can't know, right? That we can't know. So that's that one, and we can move on from that as quickly or as slowly as one would like, because it's our further exploration of it is based on anything else that we can know about Elon Musk in different situations where he stims. Right, we need the comparison to draw the continuational rule around that. So that's certainly the ideas that exist uh, after that particular one. So let's take a look at the salutes before we get on to the other the other concepts, right? Um, so the Bellamy salute. Now again, this is only information that I've stumbled across over the years. So I would imagine, given that its origin was in America, that's where more of the information would be. And but this is what it is. So the whole notion of the salute comes from Francis Bellamy, who wrote the Pledge of Allegiance as part of the patriotic program for American schools, and it was designed to indoctrinate a sense of national pride and unity, especially amongst children. He proposed the salute to accompany the recitation of the pledge. Initially, participants, the children or whomever it was that was throwing them up there, they were instructed to extend their right hand towards the flag in a way that was reminiscent of the Roman salutes, the symbol of loyalty and respect, right? But during the 1920s And the 30s, the Italians and the Germans that belong to that particular disgusting regime adopted a similar salute that was often referred to as the Roman salute. The Bellamy technically predates the use of it in both of their particular regimes, though the similarity undeniable, right? Undeniable. So that's gonna annoy a lot of people. But by the end of the kind of the 1930s, the fascist ideologies spread. American folks begin noticing the resemblance between the Bellamy and the salutes of the other folks, and the gesture that was once, created and associated with freedom and unity now evokes uh, connotations of oppression and militarism. You know, um, yeah, which is weird. It still has cultural stigma on a global scale now. Even after the official change, the Bellamy salute becomes deeply tainted by its association with those particular Germans and Austrians at the time. It was no longer seen as a gesture of respect, but rather as a gross reminder of those regimes. The hand over the heart gesture remains the standard in the United States for saluting the flag and reciting the pledge and showing respect during the national anthem. That's got clarity to it. The extension does not does not, right? But so you have to think about the way that the culture moves on in terms of the connections, the way that the society you live in, wherever it is, it moves on, it transcends, it changes, and the Roman salute, as it was known, uh, often associated with ancient Rome, hence its name, has just a distinct lack of clear historical evidence that ties it to Roman practices, right? But the I don't even know what that noise was for. I should really turn this off, shouldn't I? I'll come back to that in a second. Um, the salutes association with ancient Rome is primarily a modern myth, not a historically verified Roman practice. It was in art and texts that really hold no depiction of people using a Roman salute. Right? Romans did have hand gestures associated with respect, greetings, and deference. Um, Raising the hand in greetings, I've got it here. It was known as a manus porrecta. I don't speak Latin, so I have no idea if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but it was to indicate peaceful intentions. The hand on the chest and lifting it to demonstrate loyalty and sincerity. The gesture, however, may have been confused with depictions of raised hands in Roman statues or mosaics. The poses symbolized authority and divine inspiration or rhetorical emphasis. And it connects towards the notion of the adaptation, the amalgamation into modern times. Was revived in the 20th century and adopted by various nationalist and totalitarian movements. The ones, the Italian folks and uh, uh, the the Nazis, those folks as well. Kind of annoys me that we have to say that so much, but You know, we're covering the data. Um, Look, many countries outlawed the use of the salute as part of broader efforts to suppress this kind of growth. I believe, and this is only based on videos, I've seen nothing more, so take that with however much of a pinch or wheelbarrow full of salt you need to. But I believe in Germany you can be arrested for doing it. The Strafgesetzbuch, section 86A, it criminalizes the use of Nazi symbols. The salute, primarily, except in educational or artistic contexts. Right. So when you look at the way public consciousness moves forward, it becomes less and less likely that he's chosen to do a Bellamy salute or a Roman one. And I'm saying less and less likely because, again, we don't know. Becomes less and less likely that that is the case that he's done them because of cultural connotations in the now and in the no. Has he ever expressed any continued interest in the Roman or the Bellamy salute? I mean, let's face it, he is trying to insert himself into the collective arsehole of president, but indeed the country at large. So he would have more of a connection to the Bellamy notion than does the Roman one. But he is, despite all his shortcomings, an educated person, right? In the sense that he's been to school. I'm not about to hypothesize about the size of his IQ, but he's been to school, right? So you exist in this arena of knowing that these are outlawed and influenced by the areas to, if you do this action, it is connected to Nazis. That is the most recent connection of historical significance. In the same way that the swastika, right? We all know what that's connected to, but that's an ancient symbol. It goes back thousands of years, maybe more. It was a symbol for well-being and good and peace and good fortune and auspiciousness through Hinduism, Buddhism. It was seen in ancient Greece. It was seen in ancient Rome. It's seen in Native American cultures, right? I believe the Navajo. I think it's others as well. I'm not 100% sure. I would need fact checking on that. But it's a piece of European prehistory. Right? It's not just that it's connected uh, in this way towards those well, group of let's use a particular acronym. The group of criminals under ninja training. Let's pick that up, right? Alvis, I'm going to put your comment on because I'm getting to that. I'm getting to that point. We're just taking each one of them in turn. I'm getting to that. So that's why it is less likely that the Roman and the Bellamy one was the choice to have been used, and more signifying people or parties that are trying to make sort of less overt apologies for him, right? In terms of and I've seen it done. I didn't mean to um, touch you on the way past, and why were you walking like this with your hands out, right? It's that same kind of nonsense that connects towards that particular idea. So that's why those two become less and less likely. Now, The most recent one is the overexcitedly throwing one's heart out, which he said, "My heart goes out to you." There's people saying, "Well, you can see he just got overexcited. It's just this autistic trait." Totally possible. It's all totally possible. This is what I'm saying. The difference between knowing and belief, right? You want to do your best. And when I say your, I don't mean any one specific person or group, but one wants to do one's best to keep control of our emotive opinions, so we can be ready, primed, and prepped for new data as and when it comes in. So we look at this notion of throwing your heart out, right? If again the decrease of zeal between the first one that went out and the one for the people behind them is a kind of anomaly, because why would the people in front get more of his heart than the people behind, unless it was a play for the cameras, which is entirely possible, right? He is, rightly or wrongly, considered a celebrity, more of an infamous one at this stage, but rightly or wrongly, that's what it is. Um, but as recent data has shown, his speech, I don't know what you call them, at a shareholders meeting for Tesla, um, where he literally did the heart thing. I still can't do it. That, or that way around. I I don't know. There you go. My heart, and sends it out that way. So he's aware of what the gesture is, and he's aware of um, how to change it. And what in God's name is going on here? I'm getting so many emails. Um, wow. Okay. Let me put that over there, because the constant thing is annoying me. So that's why I also don't think that makes sense either. The one thing that does satisfy all of the observations that can be made, and I am the first to admit that it is not even close to being an elegant solution. It isn't. But it does satisfy them based on all of the information that we know, rather than all of the information that we believe. Right? I have my own beliefs about it, just to put those on the table. I have my own beliefs about it. But let's deal with what we know. And the one thing that we know is that he is a proven deviant and an attempted disruptor. So the throwing out of that thing is more than likely to stir the pot, right? Because it can be misinterpreted and it can be interpreted, right, based on different subjects that view it. It's one of those ways to know instantly where people are. Like if you were to bring up in casual conversation, how you think that somebody's idol or a close family relation is a bit of a dick, and say something like that, right? Some people could take offense to it immediately and not want to explore your reasons for saying that. Or some people could agree with you immediately and not want to explore your reasons for saying that, right? It's I mean, that's a wildly watered down version, but it's essentially the only thing that satisfies all of the knowns, all of the knowns. And it was, I mean, like him or lump him, I like Stephen Colbert as a comedian, right? I do, but there was part of his I don't know what you call it, his monologue. I don't know if that's just the Saturday Night Live things, or if it's everything that late night hosts do, or that's what it's called. Whatever, it doesn't matter. But he was talking about the kind of categories of data, in that with the known unknowns, the unknown knowns, the known knowns, and the unknown unknowns, right? And then he went on to make jokes about the things that are known, and the way people kind of change them and mold them into things that they apparently believe that they don't know. Right? That's the annoying one. That's the downfall. But that's all we can really say about that matter, right? All we can say about that is he knew what he was doing. No matter what, he's still a dick. No matter what, he's still a dick. But that's the only thing that I've found that satisfies everything, is that he threw it out just to disrupt. Because there's too many other knowns that contradict the other elements. There's too many other ones, right? Does that mean it's true? No. But it doesn't mean it's false either, because there are too many things that we, as the ignorant public, don't know, that can't control, right? So it's especially important when we observe anything that is particularly challenging towards any belief that we have. You know your objectivity is lost when you're just jumping straight to insults, because you know you're in the proverbial emotional qualities becoming antagonistic to clear reasoning. You see it in comment sections, in debate videos, all the time. The second it just devolves into some version of name calling, it's not necessarily about winning or losing. You just know that the other person isn't reasoning, right? And that's kind of been the outcome of this. That's all. To paraphrase Forrest Gump, that's all I have to say about that. So please stop DMing me about that. DM me about anything else you want as well, but stop asking me about that, because that's really all it is. As soon as he did it, I remember messaging a few guys in some of the groups. I'm like, oh, all the body language experts on YouTube will be out in force. Will be out in force on this one. Telling you exactly what it is and why. But interestingly enough, the body language experts that would normally comment on something like this that don't are giving you insight as to where their heads are very likely at as well. Do with that what you will. And oh, I haven't even looked at the comments you guys popping on. Excuse me. Well, Mr. Amir Kasru, I don't know if that's going, yeah, whatever, or some kind of joyful response, or whatever. Yeah, boards on the provocation line. Okay. Mr. Kasru has watched the Real Life Memory Palace. Great video. Thank you. I'm glad you like it. Please make a video on unlimited virtual memory palace. Well, by default there, Mr. Castro, a memory palace can never be unlimited. Think about that one. It's that same kind of, like I was having a discussion on our Discord forum. Like, if you're not in the Discord forum, you should seriously consider it. We have some great conversations in there and some great explorations of information. But we were talking about deductions around pets and profiling that way and the like. And I put in an old thinking paradox that I like, because it connects to one of the reasons why I'm not a big fan of the body language approach of the this means this, because it's always referenced that there is no Pinocchio move, in that because Pinocchio lies, his nose will definitely grow, and that's the kind of the frame for it. And the thinking paradox is, what if Pinocchio said, my nose will grow? Because if his nose doesn't grow after that, that's a lie, so it should grow. Right? That's the trade-off. And if it doesn't grow, he's telling the truth. So it should, the whole thing just kind of falls apart. Anyway, but that's the same kind of thing with a memory palace. Technically, it's a cerebral building that you can just keep putting out more chairs for, but you have to know it. And the analogy is, were you to go into an actual infinite building, you would have to know where you're going and what you're doing. And we as humans don't have that capacity. We don't, right? Yeah. And I would also be curious as to why you would need it to be unlimited. Not you personally, Mr. Castro. I imagine it's just fascination with the topics. But why one would ever need an unlimited memory palace? The as a nerdy concept, it's quite interesting to think about, but its practicality is, well, it isn't very practical, right? So yeah, with that in mind, folks, I'm going to love you and leave you. I'm going to see you in 2 weeks. I am talking to a guy that you've seen before. He's been on the podcast a couple of times, a Sherlock Holmes fan, and a wonderfully smart human being, and a wonderful human being in general. But he has trouble with picturing things in his head. So we're going to bring him on and talk about aphantasia and the practices, the analog practices around memory skills and inverting the habit development there, so that you don't struggle if this is something that you have. So that's what's coming soon. If I can't get him in the next 2 weeks, I'll get him in soon. But we've got some other topics as well, so don't forget to visit the community page on here to put in your suggestions to see if you want any other episodes on something. Comment them. I'll read them all, because we're not a very big podcast, so I can take the time to do it. You know. And if you haven't joined the Discord forum, the link will be in the information when this goes in. That's just me laughing at the comments. And if you're listening to this later, come and join us live, then you'll know what the comments say. With that in mind, folks, I'll see you later.